Allah. Son, what is your response? I'm ready, are you? I'm ready, are you? A worthy son of a worthy father. And he says, Ya abati fa'al ma tu'mar. Oh my father, go ahead. Do what you've been ordered to do. I'm also ready. Satajiduni. And then he uses the word that the godless world never uses. Satajiduni. Insha'Allahu min as-sabirin. You never hear that from their lips. It is very easy to recognize the godless world. Because when it walks around, it'll never say, Insha'Allah. Huh? And so Ibrahim alayhi salam has passed every test. And now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses him. Inni ja'iluka linnasi imama. I hereby appoint you as the Imam of all of mankind, including George Bush. I hereby appoint you the Imam of all of mankind. If he is the Imam of all of mankind, and you are engaged in that stuff called interfaith, you've heard about it? Interfaith? Well then listen to me. If he is the Imam of all of mankind, it follows that his religion is the religion of all of mankind. Anyone disagrees? No? If his religion is the religion of all of mankind, it follows that there's only one true religion, it is his religion. Anyone disagrees? There's only one true religion. All others are false. Only one true religion. Is that chauvinism? Or is that truth? The Quran addresses Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam and says to him, ثُمَّ أَوْحَيْنَا إِلَيْكَ. And then we reveal to thee, O Muhammad alayhi salatu wa salam, أَنِ اتَّبِعْ مِلَّةَ إِبْرَاهِيمَ حَنِيفًا. That you also, you must follow the religion of Ibrahim alayhi salam. And this is the Holy Land. And he is the Imam of all mankind. And there's only one true religion. It is his religion. Now we leave the Holy Land for a while. And we go to Banu Israel, who lived from the seed of Ibrahim alayhi salam in the Holy Land until Yusuf alayhi salam is taken out of the well by the travelers. Are you shaking your heads? You know what I'm talking about? Okay. Taken out of the well and taken to Egypt and sold. Oh no, not to Egypt, sorry. Taken to Misr. Because they're not the same, you know. Even Egyptians don't know that. Taken to Misr and sold in slavery in Misr. And then he becomes the prime minister. And then his family come to live with him. So Banu Israel are now in Misr, which is the eastern delta. But then some things occur which eventually led to their being enslaved in Egypt. And for that you're going to have to invite me to come and lecture on the subject of Ashura in the Quran. Ashura in the Quran, to know why were Banu Israel enslaved in Egypt. We don't have the time to take that up. And then Allah raised Musa alayhi salam. And Musa alayhi salam took them over into freedom across the sea. وَإِذْ فَرَقْنَا بِكُمُ الْبَحْرِ فَأَنْجَيْنَاكُمْ وَأَغْرَقْنَا آلَ فِرْعَوْنَ وَأَنْتُمْ تَنْظُرُونَ. So they crossed the Red Sea. And now they are in Sinai. Sinai, not the hospital in Manhattan. The desert. And then Musa alayhi salam went up the mountain, came back down with the Torah, the 10 Commandments, stone tablets. And then Musa alayhi salam addresses Banu Israel, and this is in Surah Al-Ma'idah. I suggest you get the tape recording. No, you have the book now. And every single ayah of the Quran I quote, you go and find it in the Quran and study it. Musa alayhi salam says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, he says, يا قوم ادخلوا الأرض المقدسة التي كتب الله لكم إلى آخر الآية. O my people, come on, let us enter, fight and take control of the Holy Land which Allah gave to you. Did you hear that? The Quran declares that Allah gave the land to the Jews or to Banu Israel. Well, then how come we don't hear the state of Israel talking about that? How come the New York Times doesn't publish that as a headline? Why are they so afraid of the Quran? And why don't you use the Quran to wage the terrific battle against them? وَجَاهِدْهُمْ بِهِ جِهَادًا كَبِيرًا, says Allah. Wage a mighty struggle against them using the Quran. That's what He has ordered us to do. The reason why they will not quote the Quran is because they don't want the attention of mankind to be directed towards the Quran, because the Quran will expose their fraud. Yes, Allah gave the land to them, but the grant of the land was not unconditional. It was conditional. What were the conditions? وَلَقَدْ كَتَبْنَا فِي الزَّبُورِ من بعد الذكر أن الأرض يرثها عبادي الصالحون. أن الأرض, which ard? الأرض المقدسة. That in order to inherit the Holy Land, you must conform with two requirements. Number one, you must be a servant of Allah. And a servant of Allah will follow the Imam appointed by Allah and would follow the religion of that Imam. So you must follow the religion of Ibrahim alayhi salam. And condition number two, you have to be righteous in your conduct. When Musa alayhi salam ordered them to come on and let's fight, when they learned that there were powerful people living in the land, you know the story of Goliath, they said, no, we're not going. We're not going. You and your Lord, both of you go and fight. We go stay right here. For us, it's something difficult to stomach. When the Lord has just performed this miracle before your very eyes, وَأَنْتُمْ تَنْظُرُونَ, He parted the sea for you and saved you and destroyed Firaun and his army before your very eyes. And when that Nabi who led you to freedom is still there in your midst, and that you should respond with such insolence, it is something beyond comprehension. So maybe now we can begin to understand the nature of the problem that we're dealing with in the world today. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who had given the Holy Land to them, now puts a bar. He bans them from entering into the Holy Land for how long? How long? How long? 12 years? 40 years. Good. You don't mind my questioning you? You don't fall asleep? 40 years. So here is evidence, plain as daylight for every Jew to understand and accept, that although the land was given to him, he is now debarred from entering. Why? There's only one answer to that question. He has violated the conditions of inheritance. But someone changed the word of Allah. And every time you change the word of Allah, you plant an evil seed. And one day, it's going to come back at you. It will grow into an evil tree, and ain't nobody can cut it down. They changed the word of Allah. You'll find this in my book, Jerusalem in the Quran. You'll also find it in my previous book, The Religion of Abraham and the State of Israel, a view from the Quran. What did they do? They wrote into the Torah with their own hands. What did they write? It is not because of righteousness that the Lord your God has given you this good land to inherit it. No, not because of your righteousness. For you are a stiff-necked people. And so it's because of the righteousness of your forefathers, indicating that righteousness is not a condition for you to continue to inherit the Holy Land. And so the land is yours, unconditionally. The land is yours whether you are righteous or you're wicked. The land is yours whether you follow the religion of Abraham or you don't. It is still your land. That was an evil seed. And it grew into an evil tree called the Zionist movement. And the Zionist movement is exploiting it to the hilt. And the Jew who can see can do nothing about it. And of course there are some Jews who can see, you know. Not all of them are one-eyed. But there's nothing they can do about it. Nothing they can do about it. It's too late now. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala eventually allowed them to enter into the Holy Land after 40 years. And Dawood alayhi salam establishes the state of Israel, the first Islamic state, and establishes Jerusalem as the capital of the first Islamic state. And he is succeeded by his son Sulaiman, Nabi Sulaiman alayhi salam. And he builds the masjid in the capital city of the Islamic State. And when you read the story in the Quran of Sulaiman alayhi salam and the Queen of Sheba, read between the lines, and you'll see in that story the recognition of the state of Israel as the ruling state in the world. And the definition of a ruling state is that it can impose its will on any rival. And so this is the golden age of Banu Israel, the time of Nabi Dawood alayhi salam and Nabi Sulaiman alayhi salam. But after the death of Sulaiman alayhi salam, then there was rivalry. We don't have the time, I'm afraid, to go into those details. But I mentioned to you last December when I was here a very interesting book that you might want to read. It's entitled, Who Wrote the Bible? Who Wrote the Bible? It was written by an American scholar of the Bible who is recognized for his scholarship, a professor of Harvard. His name is Richard Friedman, and the book is sold for about $11, $12. In that book, Richard Friedman exposes for you all the fraud in the Bible, in the Torah, the rewriting of the Torah so many times. He's able to identify this writer, he wrote this passage and that passage and that passage and that passage. And this second writer, he wrote this passage and this passage and that passage. By comparing the writing, the style of the writing. He also explains why this rewriting of the Torah takes place. Because of rivalry between the descendants of Harun alayhi salam and the descendants of Musa alayhi salam. One of the things which were rewritten, of course, concerns the... You don't mind my mentioning it? Huh? The prohibition of riba. You still don't mention? Don't mind? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had prohibited riba in the Torah. They changed the Torah. They rewrote it.